So we have this is the third introduction, but we're just gonna do it
Run
again.
it,
We
run
have
it.
different people that have joined. So again, and I got to practice it, yeah. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Midday Muse. I'm your host, Tanea. On Midday Muse, we have deep conversations about the realities of life that we hope will inspire you as you pursue your purpose. So I have my guest here, Monique Stevens of Bermuda Brand Box, and we're going to have a conversation about being an entrepreneur while pursuing your goals, pursuing your purpose, and all that is involved. So Monique, can you please introduce yourself? Welcome. Thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
No
And
problem. I think it's always great to have a little insight of how this connection was made. I've known about your business slightly, and then we have had some encounters with some business that we're discussing right now, and that was only like a few days ago, right?
yeah,
So I can even ask, what was it that inspired you to ask me? Because this is something that I actually would love to. When you say at podcast, I'm like, sure, I've been wanting to do one of those. Like, let's do it. Versus who I used to be, I would have been more timid to be like, I don't know, because it's unfamiliar ground. And that ties into so much of who I've become as an entrepreneur, getting into those unfamiliar waters to test yourself, to not limit yourself. So yeah, I guess that would be my first question to you.
well, when we were talking, as you said, we have been discussing some mutual arrangements. And as you were talking, just listening to what you were saying just resonated with me. And I'm like, she's saying what I'm saying. This is exactly, how I feel about things and what I think people need to understand as far as just how to go about getting through and doing what you need to do for yourself and for your legacy. Um, and so I, you say that this is new to you. This is new to me as well. This is episode 8. I've always wanted to do some sort of advice column, podcasty, something. Um, but never felt that I was qualified.
That is it right
you
there.
know
That's it right there.
and so I decided that I would just take the leap, put it together, and just do it. And it is not easy. It is definitely a challenge. Some weeks, like today,
Literally.
I like, why. But
Yeah.
you can't run from your purpose. You can't run from what it is that you're supposed to do, because I mean, and like we discussed, is kind of what was the catalyst for inviting you on, is that like people are waiting for you to do what you are supposed to do. They're looking for you to move so that they know how to move, and they know, whether that's your children, whether that's the people around you, people watching you from afar. Like, you are someone's example, you are someone's inspiration.
Yeah. And that's each and
Even
every
though,
one of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and each and every one of us. And these are the things that I want people to understand. Everyone has a place, everyone has a purpose, and it's nothing that you need to fight for, because we will each put her on this earth for a unique point in time. And even when we are born is appointed,
Yeah.
because we're here for this part of life. You know what I mean?
For
You
this
could be
moment, for this
this for this moment.
unfamiliar moment to continue to grow and continue to manifest, continue to
Mhm.
connect with one another, to be able to push each other forward. And that's the great part of what I see now, within business, within personal lives. People are connecting a lot more. It's a bit of old school versus new school, because old school did things a certain way and we're doing things in a new way. Um, is yeah, just encouraging one another. So I'm very happy to be here. I too understand that I realized that I had a gift with, whether it was the circumstances that I had been through in life, or that I had something valuable to say based off of what I had encountered in life. And so that's what had taken me to start the business in Bermuda Brand Box. It started with like association. So for those that don't know, my name is Monique Stevens. I've started and become the founder of Bermuda Brand Box, which is a curated box that it comprises of all Bermuda local products, small businesses for the majority. It's a space where people can enjoy multiple aspects of the entrepreneurial community. Many people that purchase our boxes are quite familiar with maybe 2 of the 5 items that are there. So therefore, it is basically a little vendor's market within a box, if you want to put it in, literal terms. But it's just sharing the ability to share what other people work so hard to do, to give them an additional platform. And I have local boxes or I distribute locally as well as international. So there is so much that is possible with this business, and how I can continue to move forward with sharing Bermuda with the world in a nutshell.
It's funny how that ties in, that sharing Bermuda with the world. That's also my agenda,
Literally.
the entertainment sector, giving Bermudians a stage outside of Bermuda.
Yeah, so it's literal. Like for me, it's Bermuda pride.
Yes, absolutely.
It all boils down to Bermuda pride. I'm like, we can share each other with each other, but this is where it can go. So I'm always, those that know me always know that I am thinking way out there, and sometimes it can get me in trouble because it's like, Mo, when are you gonna stop? Or like, you have enough on your plate. So how was I explaining myself today? An overachiever, but that also goes with having some bit of understanding of what you're capable of. And as we go further into the conversation of the choices that I made for myself to become a full-time entrepreneur, to pursue my purposes and what I knew I was put on this earth to do, came with just believing in whatever it is that I was doing, even though I didn't know what I was doing.
Yes. And that's very important, believing in what you're doing. And when you have those deep seated passions and things that you want to do, sometimes it doesn't make sense, not even to you. But it's not something that you can ignore, because it all adds up to something. It means something. It's important to go after this little thing, no matter how silly anybody tries to tell you it is, no matter how off the path of what you're already doing. Sometimes people get stuck in the day-to-day, or they get stuck to the expectations of being a wife, being a mother, being a secretary, being whatever.
And these society and cultural limitations that you can put on yourself as a result of you're just raised in that. You're raised in the thought that you have to go to school, you have to graduate, you have to go to college. It's a cycle of limits.
Yes.
And if you're creative or if you're an entrepreneur, that you cannot put limits on yourself. You have to make those risks. You have to take those chances, because with any invention, that's outside of the box of regular thinking. So okay, where do I start with actually how Bermuda Brand Box started?
What led you to your actual passion? What was that?
Well, I have multiple passions. So I am a fashion designer. I grew up with, I can't say nothing, but I also had limits to clothing and stuff like that. I had to become creative in the different things that I wanted to put on for grub day for school and those type of things. And now it's considered as, revamping, and all those type of things wasn't completely understood or thought of back then. You just did what you can to get the desirable outcome that you wanted. And so I stuck with that. I ended up starting a business, which is Ishanas. It's kind of, it's the momentum of it has gone down because of my need to figure out Bermuda brand box. It kind of came out of nowhere. I, during the pandemic, I had designed a shirt, and I said, okay, I don't know how I'm going to go about selling this during this pandemic. Let me do something. And I went about doing some photo shoots for it. And then I said, okay, let me do a giveaway. Research what it was like, or what you should do in regards to that. So I said, okay, let me reach out to about 3 businesses. Within my lifetime, I have always been in some type of association, starting from my mother when she used to have me everywhere she went. You know, she had the entrepreneurial spirit. So I went to her with African dance and this place and that place. So I got to know people. I was part of the roadshow. I don't know how old my audience is, but I used to be a part of the roadshow. That was a phenomenal experience.
Yes.
And many people that have come out of that look at where they are now. So going back to, association, I've adapted relationships with people that I understood as entrepreneurs they can benefit from. So what was supposed to be 3 businesses ended up being 13. A really good friend of mine, Shelby Virgil, she has experience with putting together like retail windows and stuff like that, or just putting together products for pictures. So I said, look, I need some help. I have this idea. I need some help putting it together. So she put stuff together. We took pictures. I created my logo. I didn't know where it was going to go up until then, but I said, all right, let me put a logo with it and put it out there. The businesses that were a part of that for the Mother's Day and then the Father's Day, because it went so well, were able to basically get that extra exposure that they needed. Some were a little bit more known than others, but they were selling out of their products. This is during the pandemic. While it was a great time that people were learning about businesses, the economy, and just worldwide, people were now having to depend on their local markets to get their goods. So fast forward, I now have that trust with these companies to say, hey, this is the concept that I am looking to go into. They encouraged me 100%. They had my back. And as I was putting this concept together, I didn't get any type of feedback. I wasn't getting any sales for 3 months straight. So even with that, for those that are out there that are having challenges with their businesses, you're putting a concept together, you're not getting any traction right away, do not give up. That is the last thing you can do. You're going to have to alter it. You're going to have to change a few things, revisit things, do your research. All of these things take time. And then you're going to have that moment that someone catches on. And if you're doing what you're doing well, then it's gonna expand the way that you want it to, or sometimes not even, but that's the journey in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, each thing, while you may see it, you might want to see it as some sort of failure or not a success, each thing comes with a learning tool.
A lesson.
And each step is build your portfolio. I've been doing open mic since 2017. I've produced live shows, both in Bermuda and in the US. And each one of them has come with their own challenges. And with each one, I've learned something new. The last show that I did in July was July 31st. And actually in July, I had decided to do a series of events. I did an open mic. I premiered my band, and I did Afrofet, and then I did a live show, which was a fundraiser for a couple who are in Ghana doing community center, building a community center and guest houses and just doing amazing things for the community in Ghana. So we did a fundraiser for that. So July, I packed out these events that I was going to do every weekend. And when it came down to the second last one, to AfroFed, oh my God, no one came. Okay, 3 people came, which was fantastic because they were amazing.
They came out and turned up.
They turned it up, and they had a great time. So one thing that I know is that whenever I put on an event, it is enjoyed by those who show up.
Yes.
But when this AfroFed happened and no one came, sorry, let me not discount, and 3 people came, I was just like, I had one more event to go to, and I was just like, I am crazy. I've lost my ever-loving mind. What have I done? And this was, had I quit my job yet? I quit my job in June because I was just like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. Like, I need to be pursuing what I want to pursue. I need to do this full time. My last day was June 20th.
Mine was April 1st. It's been a year now.
Crazy. June 20th was my last day, and July I'm putting on this big production, and what comes? I'm looking at myself like, what have I done?
You need to revisit your values, is what
you know what I mean? Like, what have I done? And so it was hard for me to push to do the next event, but I'm thankful for people who believe in me and people who support and push me. And I got a phone call like a few days later. I was wallowing in my what I thought was a failure. And they were like, all right, so what's next? This was great. What's the next event? What are you doing? I'm just like, what? And they pushed me and helped me to make sure that I pulled off the next event, which was phenomenal. And I learned so much because I had flyers.
It's always at that cusp of giving up. It's always at the cusp of giving up. And that is a value in your journey. You're going to have so many of those moments of almost giving up, because what was I, like Easter?
Yeah.
Easter came up. I'm going to be quite frank and honest. 2022 came with some emotions that I was not ready for, because 2021 was pretty great. And that just went with me going into a different concept and a new direction for my business, which is growing. But I said with these Easter boxes, I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, the market is oversaturated. What am I going to put together? I was doubting myself. And whenever it comes to those moments of doubting myself, I already know in my mind, this is not something that you should be doing, but this is what we do as humans anyway. So it was a really hard time that I was going through. I had this order that came through, a really large one, and I had these products that kind of just, I had inventory of, and I just put something together and said, all right, I'm gonna just put it out there, see how it goes. And it turned out as a success. And it just, once again, just reiterating, you just never know what you're capable of, even at your limits. Do not let your limits hold you back, because if you get past that, it's something great on the other side.
Absolutely. And don't stop because it's hard. Like that can't be the reason.
That builds muscle.
That can't, I mean, there's obviously a level of reality that you need to come to. You have to adjust your goals sometimes and make sure that everything makes sense. Not sense to everybody else, but everything makes sense to the vision that you have.
And that is key as an entrepreneur. You're gonna have, out of 100%, you're probably gonna have 5 that are gonna believe in you. If you're really good at what you do, maybe 15. But if it's something, especially a concept, so for me, for my business, nobody has done it before, to put all local products in one box. And as most of you know, local products are on the higher end of value, because it takes more, we pay more, And so it's a matter of trying to figure out a concept that's economical for people to still buy, but also to present it in a way that people want to buy it. And so that was the challenge that I had from the very beginning. In December of 2020 is when I basically sold out my first boxes that I had initially gotten. And that was after months of not having any traction. So once again, getting past that, then January, I said, okay, what's the new concept? I ended up getting bigger boxes to hold wine and cups and all these types of things, and had to revisit. Fast forward to now, I have I've done corporate orders. I specialize in all special occasion boxes. I even now house one of my newest companies, which is Bermuda Trail Mix, in those boxes. So, and that's the same thing I can do for my designer company. If I have my hats and my shirts and whatever it is, I can put all these things in because I fall under the category of local products. Services are also something that I've offered. You know, if you have a gift card and you don't have a physical product that you can put in the box, gift cards, it all ties into what Bermuda has to offer.
Yeah, and what that tie-in is what it's important. It's kind of strays from purpose when it talks about building wealth and multiple streams of income, and making sure that when you are having these multiple avenues that they all line up. I spoke with a credit specialist. Credit connoisseur is the title that she goes by. And she talked about an umbrella of wealth. And that your main vision, purpose, goal, business is that umbrella. And then each rung should have a different stream of income that ties into that umbrella. So the way that you're talking about the brand box versus Bermuda Trail Mix, you got shirts that go, like all of it ties in, but it's all its different separate stream of revenue. And that's valuable and that's important. That's something that I want people to pick up on as you're talking about it.
And it's not easy. Once again, I went into it. I have the philosophy of be like Nike and just do it. And that was part of one of the things that were like, Mo, like, are you really doing this right now? And in my head, I'm saying yes, but in the background, I'm like, but you don't know how to do this. You don't know how to this, that, and the other. And there's the things that you build on. And also me learning through these type of journeys, even as a mother, because I'm a mother of 3, is learning how to ask for help or even just accepting help, because many of us entrepreneurs, we take things on and want to do it all ourselves. And that's fine. But you're gonna learn so much more by getting the help, if that means someone that is doing something similar to be like a mentor to you, or just saying, hey, I need a hand, to the friends that are saying, hey, I'm available, but you don't quite reach out. I'm one of those people. I've had a few friends that are like, yo, I'm her. And they've been, some of them's been upset with me to the point that I literally broken down and said, hey, I need help. And they're like, finally, and it's hard because, going back to culture, sometimes or many times we can feel like, as mothers, if things don't work out in our relationships, or even as couples, your family might make you feel as if, okay, you have to do this on your own now. Like, don't ask for help. You should be big enough. You should be strong enough. You should be blah, 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 blah. When in actual reality, that's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case. Asking for help is something that I definitely struggle with. I prefer to be seen as knowing what's going on. You know what I mean?
And it's a level of
physically
control.
doesn't feel nice to
it's a level of control that is great to have, but it's like, no. And
but you end up being burnt out, and then when you want help, everyone is like, well, you don't need help, so I'm not asking you if you need help. You know what I mean? And you just end up it's a vicious cycle of wanting help, needing help, not wanting help, and not getting it.
Yeah, and that also burns out the candlestick for your creativity, which is kind of part of what I
Absolutely.
experienced the beginning part of this year, a bit of last year as well, but it's undoing what we have been taught.
Yes. Yes. Here we have some comments here. Zulima she's learning to ask. I'm still learning. I guess yeah.
Just to let you know, as a business owner, it's like that's my baby. Like right now,
this is it.
I'm working on like an operational plan because Bermuda brand boss, y'all gonna be seeing it everywhere soon. Just letting you know in advance. Remember this day I told you.
But all right, April 21st at 12:37, 1:37, and what time is it in California? 9:37.
There we go.
But
I'm looking at hiring, whether that's full-time, part-time staff. I'm gonna have to look to the future to say full-time staff. Hiring Bermudians. Someone else I'm gonna have to train to have the same thought process me, or someone that I can pull along and end up being better than me, like because it's all a matter of being able to expand my business at the same time. I can't find the word right now, but letting someone else have a chance to show what their purpose is.
Yeah, and that's how you build legacy. I mean, there is no legacy of there's no one to carry on what you've done. You know what I mean? Whether it be blood or those who are just impacted by the things that you've done while you were on this earth. And it makes no sense if you're not passing on the lessons, because what happens after you've left and no one knows how to carry on after you've gone on? You don't want your brand to go with you. You don't want the generational curses that you've broken to just go back to the way they were, because you learned everything, but you never shared. You didn't bring anybody up behind you to then make things better going forward. It's very important. And intentional and write your vision.
Yeah, and what you just mentioned, the generational curses. So that's part of the discussion that we had the other day was, where are we grounded to? I'm grounded spiritually, and majority of people know that, whether you're for that or not. And the encouragement that I give people will always tie into that, and that holds a great it holds a lot of weight for where I am as well in regards to belief. Your belief system is what's going to take you where you either are not going to go or where you're going to go. If you believe that you can do something, you're not going to move. If you believe you can, then you're going to make those type of moves. And those are the same things that I teach my children. I am very much a part of wanting to help the youth. So I've had mentees. I've been a mentor. So, those are the types of things. And like I say, I'm looking at hiring, whether it's part-time, but I've had a young man work under me. Once again, taking that moment to say, okay, yes, I need help. And I've seen how just being able to pour into, hey, this is what you do. This is my level of expectation. I need you to produce. And talking to them in a way that I'm at your level, but I'm also needing you to perform in this way. And what I saw was that he adapted to it. Very conserved into himself, and he completed those tasks in his way, putting his AirPods or earbuds, and just went about his business. And I said, maybe you're going to be someone that's going to be a manager in my company. Speaking this type of life, and those type of things start early.
Yeah, and let's also talk about, you touched on the standards and what your expectations. And let's talk about how important it is to know who you are so that you can even know what your standards and your values are, so that people know what to even live up to. So
I'm still learning that,
mm-hmm,
to be totally honest.
mm-hmm,
Like I said, when I opened my mouth years ago, I didn't know that there was valuable things that came out of my mouth. But now I have people, whether it's calling me, messaging me, Mo, I like to arrange some time with you to talk.
mm-hmm.
And they're getting advice from me. And I'm like you said earlier, I never even imagined I would be qualified for that.
Mm-hmm.
And and these are things in life people are asking me advice about. In business, people are asking me advice about. So no matter what it is that you go through, good or bad, people are looking. And so that it adds that value to me in regards to understanding what my standards are, that my standards are valid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it? Yep. And just taking the time out to be with yourself, be with God, and taking a pen and paper. I like to write stuff. I'm a journaler. I write my goals, write my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
I do all of that. But it's important to take that quiet time and just reflect on, what are my standards? What are my values? What is it that I don't want for myself? And then when people come into your path, it's easier for you to be able to filter out those who should be rolling with you and who should not be, when you have a clear understanding of what's going to help you progress.
For
And
me, a big value for me is transparency. So transparency is a umbrella that has so much underneath it. That's loyalty, that's truth, that's understanding.
mm-hmm,
Because if you have the ability to be transparent first with yourself, then you can filter that into anybody that you encounter, anything that you encounter. And going back to what you were saying about, you know, a relationship with God, a connection with God, and understanding who you are, that right there was the moment where I learned about my most authentic self and being comfortable with it.
mm-hmm,
Because if that I was one that I would rather stay within my skin and just be, rather than extending myself to what is not seen now to what actually can be. That makes sense?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
See, I
Absolutely.
even have these moments like when with my partner, with my boyfriend, I can say certain things. I'm like, am I making sense right now? And I say that even, with anyone, I can kind of feel like I'm fumbling over my words,
Mm-hmm.
but then I'm reiterated or I'm reassured, sorry, with no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely. I mean, I've had to come to terms with my responsibility. It's even a struggle for me to say it up like right now, but just understanding that like people are looking at what I'm doing, like they care. And so just accepting that me being loud, me being wild, and I love to dance. So I'm like, I used to always get laughed at. I'll be in the line at the deli. And the deli, remember the deli in Washington Mall? They
yes,
play some
yeah.
great music. I don't know how to keep still when good music is on. I don't know
I
how to
feel
not
you on
like
that. I feel you on that.
I don't know how to not do it. And but I spent a lot of time not wanting to be as, what is the word I'm looking for? Eccentric, probably, as I actually am. And I still struggle with that. Like I'm wild. Like I have to accept that. But
Yeah,
I
I
spend
I
a lot of
literally
time, and I
here now.
still spend a lot of time like trying to keep myself in, just so don't make too many waves. Don't like
Yeah, break out.
don't say that. Don't be too, but I am coming to accept the fact that it's necessary. And it goes back to what I said originally, is that people need it. People need you to do what you are supposed to do so that
Because
they can be
you're
free.
right. Because people, how we are as human beings, especially when you're uncomfortable with yourself, it most of the time takes you to look at somebody else to be like, hey, that's something that I can potentially do in my own life, or that's how I can be. I say that as a two-edged sword because at the same time, you don't want to look at someone else's life and be like, that's what I want. Like, you have to do that self-searching. Like
Absolutely.
I said, it took me to have to do my own spiritual grounding to be able to propel myself as my authentic self.
Absolutely.
But it also does help with having some type of inspirational person that you can either connect with or follow, or whatever the case is, that is positive, that will pour into you in that way, that can be like, hey, this is something good that you can place it, that you can have in your life. It's obtainable.
Absolutely. And that's my main message, is that, like with Tanea Presents, my mission, we promote an atmosphere of love, healing, fun, and fellowship, and provide a space to be unapologetically your true self. For my clothing line, which is coming, the tagline, what does your sexy look like? It's all about you as an individual, not trying to copy what anybody else is doing, because like I said, we are all placed here for our individual purpose. And just to be an example of being free so that others can be free in who they are is a hefty mission, first of all, because the level of self-acceptance that is involved in showing people how to be free, giving people the freedom to be free, is
yeah, but also for me, is a level of sacrifice as well. Because living the way how I do, the standards and the morals that I have, that I express or that I showcase throughout my life, no matter what. I'm not doing it for anybody, but people are looking and receiving those type of things. And so people reaching out to me and being like, I need some help in this aspect, when I already have so much already in my hands for me to still say yes. Like many times when I talk to people, they're like, Mo, I know you're busy. I'm like, oh man, this is a reoccurring like topic. But they see how I move, but they're still reaching out. So that's, sometimes it clicks to me to be like, I wish I was that person to reach out. But it means that someone's looking and someone is found that that strength to reach out and say, hey, I need your help. I'm not one most of the time to be able to say no. But also at the same time, I'm learning how to balance it out so that I'm not outpouring more than I can actually pour back into myself.
Absolutely. I had something profound to say and it completely slipped my mind. So I'm just fill that space with that sentence that I just said.
It'll come back. Anybody never get known.
In your journey to getting to know yourself, what is one thing that surprised you about you?
What I was able to produce from my mind to actuality. A lot of times, even though I have things up in my head, and I have a lot in my head, Lord Jesus. And I have learned that people, well, once again, it goes back to people. If I produce anything, people are like, Mo, I love it. I'm enjoying it. I see the value of it. And I'm like, I had this all up in my head, doubting it. So once again, going back to that self-belief piece, that what you have is needed in the world. And I just have to, it's going to take time. You're going to still have to revisit those type of things.
Moment by moment sometimes, because I mean, and especially as a mother, one thing about these kids, they don't care about how you feel about nothing, and it's not their job to. So
I wish my son would. My son eats my chocolate bowls from him, and I want to like crucify him. I'm like,
my God, nothing would bring you down faster than looking at a kid who's like, I don't care how many shows you just did or how well you just sang. You didn't read me a bedtime story, so I now feel like
no, but that's a big point and a factor as well. So when I left, so in April of 2021, I left my job as a full-time police officer. Very stable job. I can rely on a monthly paycheck and take care of my family, but I was not fulfilled. I wasn't happy. It was even a moment where I was really frustrated with having to be in that position, that God actually relayed to me that you need to be suffice with where I put you right now, because where you are now is going to propel you for later. And now becoming a full-time entrepreneur, I kind of felt like I would have a little bit more time to spend with my children. And I do, but at the same time, I don't in different ways, because it's continually trying to keep a momentum going to attract the clients, to get the customers, to build on this and build on that, like you're one person, one man band, until things get better and you can expand. But at one point I actually asked my middle son, I said, do you think I made the right decision? And he said, Mama, are you happy? Like whatever makes you happy. And he said, no. And part of me leaving my job and pursuing what it is that I wished that I want to do in life or have already envisioned in my life is my children. If I'm as talented as I am, then they have a double dose of whatever it is. So I want to be able to show them what their capabilities are. And even that now is showing itself. My son, he wins art competitions. And then my eldest son is growing into this amazing young leader. And everything that I had told him is going to happen in his life is now occurring. And it's like, those are the whys. When I sit down and I say, hey, why am I doing this? It's for me, but it's also for my legacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A few years back, Jennifer Lopez sang at Super Bowl, and her daughter came out on stage and sang at Super Bowl for halftime. And that impacted me deeply, because I said, look at the access that this woman gave her child.
Yes.
Her child has an opportunity to sing in front of hundreds, millions of people.
But remember, that's what I was saying in regards to my mom with association. We're connected to our space. And I said, you boys have to come along, because I'm growing access for you.
Exactly.
It's not maybe going to be as hard for you to get a job because you're in that space. So, with whatever it is that we do, that we choose to do, we have to remember, especially if we have children attached or godchildren, or, you are a mentor, that these children have an ability to benefit from that, but it's also a matter of getting them to respect and value what it is that's accessible to them.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to talk about coming from a secure job. This is it. And, my kids have been to Times Square. They stayed at hotels overlooking Times Square, the lights. They've taken trips multiple times in a year. We've eaten at restaurants, everything, the whole nine. And then made the move to start over. And I'm like, all right, we got $20 for the next 10 days. So let's make this work. They're looking at me like, what? And I say to them, I want you to remember each and every one of these days, because when the blessings come, you're going to know that we built this from the ground up. We did this
Exactly.
for real. And
Exactly.
you'll be able to celebrate with me and be able to understand the importance of it. When you look at your support system, because we talked about being vulnerable, we talked about asking for help. When you look around now at your support system, what are you most grateful for? And then what is it that you wish you had more of?
I can say with the support system that I have, they just have been persistent with not giving up on me, to even confront me in those uncomfortable moments of telling me exactly what it is that I both need to hear and what I don't want to hear. But I'm great with criticism or constructive criticism. Delivery is everything, and that's also something that I portray as, or I provide when talking to someone. It's all about how you express whatever it is that you're wishing to give to another person through communication. And I would say that's what it would be. What I would say I need more of, I'm in actually a really good space right now. It's just continue to accept the help, to continue to get better with communication, making sure those lines of understanding are clear and stuff like that. Because, as I expand and, make those contacts with establishments, larger establishments, communication has to be clear.
Absolutely.
It starts out small.
Yeah, it definitely does. It starts out with the relationships that we sometimes take for granted are the ones that we definitely need to cultivate. And those are the stepping stones for dealing with the wider world and making sure that we are putting our best foot forward and we are being heard. What's being heard is what we want to be heard.
Exactly. Because sometimes what we have in our heads is exactly what we end up saying.
Yes.
And so just practicing that delivery.
Absolutely. What are the 3 most important things that keep you going when it comes to pursuing your purpose?
Legacy, fulfilling my purpose, and once again, just showing, well, I guess it would be 4, showing my sons what their capabilities are so that they can be well-rounded citizens, young men. Going back to generational cycles, there are things before us that, as a family, we need to break away from. And that's what I'm learning to build with my children or within my children. So that's a big thing that keeps me going. And also the larger scale in regards to my business is being able to showcase and have that Bermuda pride of this is what we have to offer, and continually growing and learning new businesses and developing relationships within those businesses. There's individuals, like it's always a deeper connection that comes with it.
Yeah, it's much deeper than just the exchange of goods or things like that, because as you are creating a space for these entrepreneurs to be able to put their stuff in your brand boxes, that knock-on effect of the sense of pride, the self-esteem, them being able to now show their offspring what it is to pursue their goals. It's a ripple effect.
Ripple effect, yes. Yes, because there's stories, many times entrepreneurs feel like they're the only ones going through specific circumstances. And many of the times it's something that all of us are encountering, just in different time frames, in different settings, but they're mainly the same.
Yeah. Even when we have our low points, and that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask you tonight. And as far as making sure that we give encouragement, but when you are at your lowest, what's one of the things or some of the things that you do to bring yourself up, to get yourself trying again?
I always go to God. I ask whatever is his will to be done, whatever it is that I'm doing or associated with. If it is not part of his will, then it needs to be dismissed in my life. Even if that's a idea that I might have, Lord, is this something that is of you? Or if it's not, and it always either cancels itself out or it becomes confirmed, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And also, just quiet time, learning to, because I'm one mother in a house full of 3 boys. It's challenging sometimes. And then being busy and just balancing it all out, taking that time to literally be like, look, I need you all to stop or occupy yourselves. And I need to go over here. I turn on a sermon. I am a follower of Transformation Church, as well as Sarah Jakes Roberts, her ministries. And I just feed myself with some encouragement. And most of the time the message is spot on for that moment in time. And it just helps to build me back up. It's like a fresh breath of air. A fresh breath of air.
Yes.
Yeah. But or I just go to my scriptures, or or I journal. It's something that whatever I can do, it's most times is spiritually based.
Yeah.
That's grounding.
For me, this the same thing. Reading anything that is going to be spiritually enriching to me, as well as Sarah Jakes Roberts. I also like Dr. Cindy Tran. And just that prayer and quiet time. And then I let myself feel what I'm feeling.
Prayer as well.
Yeah, I let myself feel it, because every now and again it just gets to be a lot. And you're always carrying it, and Kenta is out now, you'll know it's about that pressure. It gets to be a lot. And sometimes you just have to feel it. And I let myself do it. And I'll say, all right, you got until 11 o'clock to pull it together.
I call it my 5-minute pity party. I'm going to honor this crappy feeling right now. And I even have these confrontations, Lord, why do you have me in this right now? Why are you got me in this person's space when full well this is not what I want to do? Give me some reiteration here. But yeah,
absolutely feel it. And something else you said, letting it go. No, oh Lord, I'm lost track of my thought. You said something that I thought was very profound. How profound was it if I can't remember that, right? It was one of the, pardon?
One of the
first things you said when you started to answer this question.
Get it on the re-record.
Yeah. But this is honestly is a symptom of having so many things on my mind as an entrepreneur. I actually watched an interview with off track, but anyway, I actually watched an interview with Kirk Franklin and Kev on Stage. I don't know if you heard of Kev on Stage. He's a social media personality. I started watching him during the pandemic. He's a comedian. And it's been interesting watching his journey go from doing videos in his car to having his own studio. But anyway, he did an interview with Kirk Franklin. What Kirk Franklin described as far as when you're an artist or creative, and just always living in the next moment, always thinking about, okay, what's next? What do we do now? And just being in that space. When he said that, it was very calming to me, because I was like, okay, it makes sense, because I'm always thinking about us. To me, it's like a puzzle, or like a maze, and I'm always thinking about, okay, what is the next move that needs to happen in order to make sure that the whole picture comes together. Sometimes that means I forget what I'm saying.
That's me all the time. What? Okay, all right.
Yeah. So
for me, when I write, I write much more cohesively than I would speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I did not completely believe that whatever I said, it made sense. But then when I spoke, people were like, it makes sense. You have a whole lot of value that you say, like, Mo, well, how old are you again? This, that, and the other. And
Right.
it's like, okay, but that means that in our head, things are going so fast. Like my son is dyslexic, and understanding the thought, not thought, but how their mind is channeled and how they think and stuff like that. It may seem in one light that it's a challenge, but at the end, on the other side, it's actually a benefit. So, dealing with, once again, those type of challenges in life, that it was hard to have to go through that process with, in which I still continue to go through, but it gives me some type of understanding of myself and how I operate, because it has to come from somewhere, right?
Right.
And so it's just that continual evolution of where you're at.
Yeah. And you talked about looking at your son. Looking at my daughters has also helped me with that level of self-acceptance and understanding, okay, like, you're fine, everything's okay. Like, I talked about how I dance whenever, or like, I was like, I'm wild. I look at my kids and they are unfiltered versions. They are their own people, but they are unfiltered versions of me. It's so funny. But just as they are growing and just seeing them do different things or act different ways, and just accepting that it's just who I am. Like, I'm looking at this person who's doing this exact same thing that I know I would do. And it's like, oh, just that, oh, okay. Like, it's, it's okay. Because I mean, a lot of times society, people around you will make you feel as if you're not good enough, will make you second guess yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that level of acceptance and just coming
to give them that type of acceptance that you would have
yeah,
valued and appreciated.
Yeah.
When you were at that very same age.
Yeah.
And I do that on a different spectrum with my children as well. As we want to be on top of them about things that they don't do, things that they can do better. But what I tend to do quite often is put that back on myself. So I'm like, I can't tell you to do something, but I'm not doing it myself. If I'm telling you, you were supposed to do something over her, but you gotten distracted by doing something over her. But then I'm like, but Mo, what do you do?
Right.
My boyfriend's probably right now like,
no, it's real. It helps you to give a grace where you didn't receive it, when you have that realization. And then that also works towards breaking the generational curses. When you recognize the things that did not serve you. And then also recognizing how those things that didn't serve you can now be turned around to serve.
Yeah, because I tell them all the time. I said, as much as I correct them, and sometimes it's perceived to me or relayed to me that, Mo, you talk too much, but I see the value of it still, as much as I don't want to be talking that much, but the reiteration of information, of instruction, it's like I get them to understand, hey, this is what I do as well. I get myself on that playing field with them. I do this as well. And so by me telling you this, means that you get to lapse in a little bit of time to learn this lesson, still letting them learn it, but it's just
take some of the pressure. You don't have to go through everything that I went through to figure out that this thing doesn't
work. I didn't, I tell my middle son, speak up. Same time people would be like, no, I can't hear you. So I'm like, this is the reason why I'm telling you this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we build. That's how we make the next generation better. Be able to identify these things and teach and pass them on. Absolutely.
And exactly what we're doing right now holds within these standards, because I'm getting back to what we were saying, this is transparency. So much is covered under transparency, and that is what we have to implement in our children.
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking for just over an hour. I am regretfully, I would love to keep talking about it. I'm going to actually wrap it up here. This was a wonderful conversation with you, Monique.
Yeah,
Thank you very
likewise.
much for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with today?
You already know who you are, and what you need to do is stop convincing yourself that you're not.
Mm.
Simple as that.
Plain and simple.
You don't need any type of noise from the outside. Just literally be honest with yourself and move in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is Midday Muse, where we have deep conversations about the realities of life that will inspire you as you pursue your purpose. Thanks, Monique, for joining us. Bye, everybody.
Naya, bye, everyone.